You guys know that I am extremely excited for the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It seems like, to a large degree, Samsung is about to finally deliver a folding phone that does many of the things that people like myself have been waiting for them to do. We have a larger and wider set of screens, so that cover display is finally going to look and feel like a normal phone. But speaking of looking and feeling like a normal phone, this thing might be as thin as 3.9 millimeters when open, excluding the protruding bezel. Everyone excludes the bezel. That would actually make it thinner when closed, or about as thin when closed as the Oppo Find N5. So it's going to truly just feel like a normal phone when you're using it closed. And then you have that massive 8-inch, maybe as big as 8.2-inch screen. Whenever you open it, we're getting a new primary camera, we're getting the Snapdragon 8 Elite, we're getting a larger or improved vapor chamber for thermals. There is so much to like about what we're hearing about this device, but there is also that one sticking point for so many people, and it is the battery. Not just the size, but also the charging speeds. And in this video, what I want to do is dig into that question a little bit. And to do that, I'm going to show you a couple of tweets that have been made over the last week or so that I think give some important insight into why it is that Samsung is still rumored to deliver a 4,400 milliamp hour battery with 25-watt charging in a world that now does have folding phones that are remarkably thin, with batteries approaching 6,000 milliamp hours and 70, 80, 90-watt charging. Why, oh why is Samsung lagging so far behind? And I want to be very clear about this. What I'm going to lay out for you here is not a series of excuses, but a series of reasons. And there is a difference between those two. So this first tweet comes from Ice Universe, who, if you're following, Samsung tech leaks, you're going to know this name. And they're actually talking about the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge. Stick with me. There's a reason I'm showing you this. So for whatever reason, and at the request of, I believe, effectively no one, Samsung decided to make a normal slab-style phone that was just thinner than their other S25 devices, and that is the S25 Edge. Now, because of the thinness of this device, it does pack only a 3,900 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty darn small by modern standards. Now, in this tweet from Ice Universe, he talks about how Samsung actually has done some work to make this battery be as big as it actually is. He says, in terms of energy density, the S25 Edge's battery has improved slightly over the S25 Ultra's. So he says that the Ultra is 727 watt-hours per liter, and the Edge is 758 watt-hours per liter. So they're maximizing the energy density within the constraints of traditional lithium-ion batteries, rather than, as he puts it, hastily adopting silicon carbon anode technology. He actually goes as far as comparing what would happen if they had have used silicon carbon. So he took the energy density of the Oppo Find N5, which is 810 watt-hours per liter, and then they applied that to the Edge, and it would have made the battery around 4,170 milliamp hours, which he says is not a large improvement, and I would agree it's not a large improvement over the 3,900 milliamp hour battery that they actually packed in. So the point of this is they're trying to make traditional lithium-ion batteries more dense, trying to get closer to the energy density of a silicon carbon battery, which is what we have in these Chinese OEM devices that have crazy huge batteries with crazy fast charging speed. But this is the important part. Considering Samsung's past battery-related setbacks, taking such a risk for minimal gains wouldn't be worth it. If they used a silicon carbon battery that was as advanced as what's in the Oppo Find N5, the battery would only be a little bit larger. If they pushed it all the way to the highest density silicon carbon batteries that are 880 watt-hours per liter, that would be, as he's saying, potentially too risky. Now, if we look at this next tweet from Panda Flash Pro, we dig in a little bit deeper. Samsung is currently testing lots of battery technologies because Samsung aims to find a good battery that has longer battery life and is safe to use. Now, I don't actually think that they mean battery life in terms of on a single charge. They're meaning the lifetime of that battery. And we can kind of stop here and talk about this for just a moment. To the best of my understanding, it is absolutely true that silicon can actually hold more energy and it can charge faster. But while it's taking that energy, it expands more than other materials that we have typically used, and then it will contract back down. That can cause physical structural damage inside the battery, and that can shorten the lifespan of the battery itself. We saw reports about Samsung testing this stuff and being unsatisfied with the lifespan of these batteries. And because of that, like we see here in this tweet from Ice Universe, they are trying to push the limits of the old battery technology, trying to make it denser because they do believe it will still have the same lifespan that we're used to. Panda Flash Pro goes on to say Samsung doesn't want to use any type of new battery technology without long time testing due to Samsung not wanting to take any type of risk. And maybe some of you watching are too young to know about the Galaxy Note 7, but I think a Google search would rectify that pretty quickly. That phone had a defect in some batteries that caused it to overheat and explode. And that massive disaster cost Samsung literally tens of billions of dollars. They are trigger shy. They are not going to rush into a new battery technology until they are fully satisfied with it. They are testing lots of new different things, but they don't want to give you something that's going to be compromised down the line. Now, I'm not saying that your Oppo Find N5 is going to just be basically it's going to have no battery life at all in a year or 2 years or something like that. I don't know exactly how rapid that degradation is. Only time will truly tell. But Samsung seems to be happy to sit back and let time tell and then make their move. So again, this is not me making excuses for Samsung, okay? Like, I would love to have a massive 5600 milliamp hour battery in the Fold 7 as well. Using my Oppo Find N5, it's been quite clear that this thing does just have better battery life and exceptionally better charging speed than anything that Samsung has made, especially my Fold 6. But I think it's also really important and I think useful to take a step back and think about, well, why would Samsung not be doing this? Obviously, they know they have to compete with these other phones, and it seems like they're trying. They are attempting to be the thinnest folding phone on the planet, the lightest folding phone on the planet. So it seems so weird that they would just continue to completely ignore battery capacity and charging speed until you look into this and you start to understand, no, there are actually very good reasons why Samsung, of all OEMs, would be very hesitant and would be taking quite a careful approach, quite a conservative approach to this battery technology. Expect them to talk about AI optimization of their battery usage and things like this, and ultimately, expect the Fold 7 to be fine when it comes to battery life, okay? It's not going to be a champion. It's not going to be an 8-hour screen on time phone for most people, but if it's basically the same as my Fold 6, it'll get me through the day just fine, and I think that we'll be okay with it. And we're just going to sit back and hope that Samsung becomes satisfied with silicon carbon and satisfied with the faster charging not being a problem down the line, and then delivering that device. But in the meantime, like I said, reasons aren't always excuses, and you have to determine for yourself if this is something that matters to you at all, or if you're just going to say, I don't care, I'm going to go buy the X Fold 5 or the Magic V5 or the Oppo Find N5 that have the massive battery and the crazy charging speed, because that's what I want. Guys, let me know in your comments down below exactly how you feel about all of this. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.